Hey everybody, Dan the Healing Man here, and today we're going to talk about a sensitive topic. Today it is about the aftermath of suicide. The aftermath of suicide. And I want to start off by saying this is an unpleasant topic, and you may not like what I have to say. You may even disagree. In any case, I urge you to open up that mind and listen to what I have to say. If you have prejudice against any kind of religion, please throw that in the trash can right now, just for a moment. Because the aftermath of suicide is a really difficult thing. And so often we see it handled in a way that just seems to make it worse. Where this comes from, a couple of years ago, a friend of mine committed suicide, and a lot of people I know have done this. This is just one particular instance. And we went to this person's funeral, and one of the pastors got up and he had a lot to say, and it was absolutely true. There's no doubt that the gentleman was authentic. However, to me, he seemed to just spread further evil. He just seemed to spread it even worse into the room. He was mad. He was judgmental. He was accusatory. He was wondering, why? How? Why now? Right? Things like that. And that is not the answer. So I wanted to give you something you can do, a bit of a homily, a bit of a preaching on the idea of suicide, because it is a really, really intrusive event. There's this event that happens. You and I didn't do the event. We're alive. And it intrudes right on into our life. It doesn't matter what we have going on. That event comes in and grabs us. And we say, oh, no, what did they do that for? And it's followed by all sorts of questions. And we'll go to social media and put, he was the greatest person or she was the greatest person and all that. Perhaps some of that's true. They just invaded your life in the most selfish possible way, in a really deep and evil way, in a way that is mean and that is cruel. That's what happened. So I want to give you guys some ideas of what to do. How do we deal with this? What is the Jesus strategy around suicide? I mean, seriously, what would it be? How could it be? All right, so I want to give you some. First, let's go over a couple of thoughts. Suicide is an evil thing. Suicide is an evil thing. It is a sad thing. It's not just evil, though. It's also tragic because it doesn't have to go down. In the experience I have working in the addiction world and working with different people, there have been many, many unfortunate suicides. Some of them may have been on purpose. Some of them may have even been evil enough, egregious enough to get back at somebody, to drag somebody into the dirt with them. That old misery. Evil loves company. Remember that line. Evil loves company. And there's people that do it by accident. They're just trying to get attention. There's people that are just trying to escape. There's some that are just going back from a relapse and they overdose on the same dose they used to take. They had no intention of killing themselves. In any case, it is a representation of that selfishness gone completely haywire in somebody, to the point that self-centeredness allows them no view of the outside. I like to call it an emotional black hole. Emotional black holes are just like real physical black holes. No light. They cannot see the light. It simply cannot escape. Suicide, evil. It intrudes on your life and it brings in all sorts of different thoughts and emotions. And heck, I don't want to think of this person. They're obviously sick. We say things like that. And they're true. They're sick. They're sick from a mental health standpoint. But that came about from a soul sickness, something deep in them that was seriously injured. And they had no way out. Or maybe they had a way out and they didn't choose to take it. Maybe you were there for them had they simply called, texted, or maybe even showed up. Maybe there were professionals there for them in abundance. Maybe there was a church there for them or another type of group for them. Maybe there was a recovery group for them. Maybe there was so much out there for them, it's kind of ridiculous that this even happened. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. Or maybe they were just mean and cruel and did something to hurt others. That's possible too. In any case, it's evil. The way it intrudes in our lives and brings up all these thoughts and feelings. Thoughts like judgmental thoughts. Thoughts like religious thoughts. I know how God's going to deal with this person. You can't do that. The scripture says this and that. The magic dude with the magic book in the sacred place says this or that. I hope you can let go of that. Because you don't know and I don't know. I have no idea how God's going to deal with them. I have no idea. And it's just not my job. Why would I want to think that? The second thing we might think is angry. Why did they do this? Well, to me. That selfishness begets more selfishness, right? Why did they do this to me? Why did they do this to me? They didn't do anything to you. They did it to them, and you're feeling the pain of it. Their evil act is moving through you and then through others if we don't change it, and we're going to get to that. We together suffer anxiety, sleepless nights, wondering, why, how, what could have I done? Over and over again. Over and over again. If we could have talked to him, we would have stopped him, right? We definitely would have stopped him. All right. So this intrusion in our life comes along, but what comes out of us is often, oh, they were the greatest person. I'm sure going to miss them. This is so sad and things like that. And that doesn't even begin to scratch the surface because this isn't going away for years if they were someone you really loved, a family member, a friend, a coworker, someone who's young. And we just go, what? What? Yeah, it's not going away. It's not going to be assuaged or minimized or rationalized. It's not going to go away because I want to say pleasant things. It's not going to do it. It may seem like the Christian way or the Hindu way or the whatever way. It may seem like that's what love requires of us, right? To say nice things. I don't think that's correct. So what do we do? What do we do? Well, here's the first thing I want you to do. I want you to find someone you love today, someone you really, really care about. Get nose to nose with them. If you're about to go to a funeral or something, find somebody. Find a bunch of people. Ask them to do this for you, and you do this for them. Look them dead in the eyes and say, I am not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. It doesn't matter if you never have the thought. It doesn't matter if you think about it all the time. Look somebody in the eyes. Connect with them. And with love, an absolute commitment. Assure them you are not going to continue this evil. You are not going to use this way out. Dan, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Some of us have that thought just saunter into our mind like it's telling us to go get ice cream. And we'll think of things that are 30 years ago. I know I get this. And it just floats into the mind. Oh, like you should just do that. Don't do it. And make a commitment to someone you love to not do it, and ask them to commit to you to not do it. Look them in the eyes. Look them deep in their eyes. Say, I, for one, Dan is not going to do that. Second thing I want you to do, talk about it honestly. Honestly. You're going to have moments of sadness and grief. You are going to think of the good times. Talk about them. All good. That will come naturally. But this one won't. When you get really angry about it, when it just grabs you and you go, what'd they do that for? I needed them. Call somebody and tell them. Don't let that live in you. That's the evil event making its way through everyone else. Don't let that secret make you sick. That evil event is a disaster in your own life if it's not handled correctly. And all you got to do to handle it correctly is get honest. Say, you know what? I'm pretty PO'd about this whole thing. I'm angry. This is selfish, because that's what it is. It's the ultimate in selfishness. To remove oneself from life for the sake of your own comfort or to deal with your own anger is selfishness. It's self-centeredness, self-pity, control freakness at the very pinnacle that's allowed in life. There's no higher ground in selfishness than suicide. You can't get any more, I'm taking me out than that. Just ingrain it in your mind. Yeah, they're sick. Yeah. But this is pathological selfishness. It is a sickness of selfishness. The flesh gone completely crazy. Here's another thing that you can do. After you get done committing that you're not going to do it, And after you get past the anger and the bitter and the resentment, the wishing things were different, forgive. Forgive them to let you go. Don't wish this were any different. And how do you do that? You maximize this opportunity. If you're going to go to a memorial, if you're on Zoom, do you got somebody that you've resented and had trouble with? Is there family tension of some kind that's been going on? Because these types of events tend to make that a lot worse because people handle it secretly. Because one side wants to say it's your fault and the other side wants to say it's their fault. It's nobody's fault but the person who does it. That's the only person to blame here, not yourself. So go out there and straighten out those family problems. Straighten out any relation issues that you have on planet Earth. Even if they're financial ones, even if you're like rude to a customer service rep, find a way to begin to amend those things. Now, here's your chance. You're in touch with the emotions. You're angry at the world, the finitude, the finite nature, the limited nature, the very short time of your own life stares you in the face. The fact that we are so fragile, that we can go after a high and accidentally die. Going after a high. Trivial. Selfish. I'm going to take this risk. I'm going to take this risk for one reason, to temporarily ease my pain, and I end up killing myself. Amazing. Very few people that have that happen aren't 100% aware of the risk that they're taking. That's my experience with that. The forgiveness comes after that. Straighten out some sort of relationship. Leverage this to tell people you love them, you care about them, and that they're important to you. Tell as many people as you can that. Keep telling them, don't give up. And the last part is forgiveness. Remember, you don't know what God's going to do. Quit wishing this were different. Quit torturing yourself. It is what it is. Use it for good. Don't let that evil come into you and create bitterness. Don't let that evil come into you and create blame and finger pointing and judgment and anxiety, worry and all that stuff. Don't let it happen. Don't let it happen. You didn't do anything. That person did. Move on. Move on in love. So in the Jesus strategy, how do you reconcile this with the teachings of that teacher? Let me give you an idea of what he said in this book called Matthew. Now, if you don't like that, don't even give me any of that Jesus stuff. I'm not a big fan of the religion called Christian myself in a lot of ways. Just let all that go for a second, because these are wise words. And if I said it was Bob Smith down the road, you'd really love it, okay? It's not. It just happens to come out of this book called the Bible, and this place in that book called the book of Matthew. It's a book and a book, and then somebody divided it all up. Just forget all that. It's just a way of finding it. Anyway. There's a chapter called 5 and another thing in there called a verse, which is a group of sentences called 39. And right there, there's a sentence. And it's important. Now, we all know what follows that sentence. It says things like, go the extra mile, turn the other cheek. If they steal your shirt, give them your jacket too, or something like that, right? And it goes on. And it says it rains on everybody. And the sun shines on everyone. It has no notion of judgment. It just does. And that's true of you too, right? God's love shines on you too. However you want to imagine God, whatever pathway to God, whether it be religious or not. It's still true. It doesn't change in the context of religion. Go outside on a sunny day or a rainy day. You'll find it to be true. It doesn't avoid you. You get the benefits of and the curses, if you don't like it hot or wet, right? Of both sun and rain. But there are some words that occur before turn the other cheek, walk the extra mile. And most people don't want to hear these words. And they're really important when we deal with the evil of suicide. And that evil is how this one desperate, selfish, pathological act comes into us and creates bitterness and judgment and a really wanting for things to be different. It's just true. Sure, there's decent reflection. There's also morbid reflection. And we don't want to share it. We think we can't say it. We resist it. We're like, oh man, I don't want to think that about him. He just offed himself. Gosh, maybe I had a part in that, right? We resist it. Those words at the beginning of Matthew chapter 5, verse 39. Or resist no evil person. Resist not evil in some versions. Resist no evil person. Do not resist this event. Accept it. Be willing. Humble yourself. Know that your life is also timed to the universe. And when you step out of that time, you see the evil that comes of it. You don't know, you might not live tomorrow. A friend of mine's mom attended my sister's funeral who committed suicide. And she passed away the next day, not because of suicide, because of a regular health condition. Very, very kind woman. A woman I remember from picking up my buddy to go to baseball games as being one of the sweetest people I'd ever known. I just know her from childhood, right? Resist no evil person. Resist not evil. Because when we resist it, that's the anger. We give it the power. We give it its strength. Let it be the very nothingness that it is. Let it simply be someone who hasted the inevitable into existence at our expense. It's evil. At our expense. And how do we assuage that evil? We commit to one another by looking each other in the eyes and saying, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. We deal with it honestly. We say, I'm angry, I'm bitter, I'm resentful. Alongside those things that are good memories. The good memories are great. If you grieve this thing correctly by getting honest with your words and your feelings, if you grieve this thing correctly by being open and sharing openly, if you grieve this thing correctly by being the ears and the body that hugs and warms up and shows affection and kindness and empathy and sympathy for others, if you can be that person and walk God right on into these circumstances, you will be the end of that evil as far as you're concerned. You will have stopped it right there. Love is the roadblock to evil. Love will stop this. But how do you do that? We're all hurting. You hurt together. You just bring that in there with you. Love and hurt aren't separate things. Love and hurt belong together in moments like this. So we deal with it honestly. And the next thing we do, we got to quit wishing things were different. Don't look into the past and wish things were different. How you do that? You go out and you make good in this world. You bring good out of it. You listen and love on other people. You make other people more important than yourself. The more important I make other people to me, the more important I become to other people. When I can see them as children of God, people that get the rain and the sunshine just like me, they get the same benefits or curses just like me. We suffer the consequences together. Then I can do it. And the last thing of forgiveness is to just not wish things were different. Let them be like they are. Identify this for what it is. Sure, it's pathological. Sure, these people are sick. Yeah, it's sad and tragic. It is awful, an egregious, selfish act. Somebody removed themselves through violence or overdose or something like that out of our lives. And they did it for some reason we may never actually understand or know. But it affected us, and we want to know why. And let me just leave you with this. You'll hear it all the time. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. If it was your child, it's not your fault. It's never going away. It's never going away. But you can change how you see it by leveraging this message, the things I'm telling you. Go and do them, and then carry this off to somebody else. Go and do them. You're going to find